Josh, he put on his cape in the wildcard round, beating the Jaguars in the final minutes. Some powerful runs where he just wouldn't be denied in that offensive line. Now they head to Denver quite shorthanded because they lost two receivers in that game. Both Gabe Davis and Tyrell Shavers tore the ACLs. Curtis Samuel, well, he has practiced this week and is questionable to return from a 3-month injured reserve stint. And defensive tackle Ed Oliver could also return. He last played in October. For more on Saturday's divisional matchup, we bring in CBS Sports NFL writers Tyler Sullivan and John Breech. And let's start in the trenches, baby, where games are won. The Bills, they boast the number one rushing attack led by James Cook, but the Broncos, they own the second best rushing defense. And we saw what the Jaguars did to the Bills' rushing attack last week. So when you think about everything that the Bills have against them when it comes to the receiver position, how important is this, John, for them, for their running game to be successful to get a W?
Chris, it's very important. This is something they've got to open up. I think if you're Buffalo, you go out right away and try to establish your rushing attack instantly because it makes the entire offense better. And let's not forget the Buffalo Bills had the number one overall rushing attack in the NFL during the regular season. They had the most rushing yards. They went 9-0 this year when they rushed for more than 150 yards in a game. So this is a team that, yeah, we know that Josh Allen loves to throw the ball. You love to get him involved because he's your superstar. But when they get going on the ground, that is when they're at their best. And yes, this Broncos defense has been good at stopping the run. But if you look at specific games, you can run on this Broncos defense. I'm talking, let's go back to the Colts game earlier in the season. They gave up 167 yards to Jonathan Taylor. This Broncos defense only faced two of the top 5 rushing offenses in the NFL. Remember, the Bills are number 1. Those top 5, the Commanders and the Giants. The Broncos almost lost both of those games, and both of those teams topped 100 rushing yards. So anytime they faced a team that runs the ball well, the Broncos have struggled. And of course, if you get your rushing attack going, that opens up everything else. You mentioned the receiver injuries. That opens things up for your tight ends, Dawson Knox, Dalton Kincaid. It just makes everything flow better on offense. So it will be very important for the Bills to establish that ground attack.
There's no doubt about it that they need to run the ball effectively. Just go back to last postseason, that blowout win for the Buffalo Bills over these Denver Broncos. One of the key storylines in that game was that they dominated time of possession, 41 minutes in 43 seconds. I mean, that is unheard of. You only do that, though, and you can only replicate that if you are running the football effectively, and that is with both Josh Allen and with James Cook. And if you cannot run the ball effectively, and Breech, you were kind of alluding to it, you're putting yourself more into passing situations, obviously. And what do the Denver Broncos do arguably better than anyone else in the NFL? Sack the quarterback. Franchise record in sacks this season, tied for the 5th most all time. You do not want Josh Allen running for his life. You want Josh Allen running effectively.
Exactly. And they're going to need a lot out of him if they're going to be able to get the W. Now, in terms of the Broncos attacking the Bills on offense, Buffalo is vulnerable to the run. But do you think, Tyler, R.J. Harvey can actually make them pay? And should that be a huge emphasis when we talk about the run game?
They should certainly try to make that an emphasis. I know that there's questions about R.J. Harvey and his ability to actually do it. They haven't been the same rushing attack since J.K. Dobbins went down with injury earlier this season. But I would give the rookie the rock because this is one of those defenses where you should be able to run. I actually don't think that the Jacksonville Jaguars ran enough in that game last week. I believe it was only 23 rushing attempts between all of their carries last week, and they still were able to dominate on the ground. You're talking about over 100 yards. So to me, yes, obviously you need to do it effectively and you need to do it soundly with R.J. Harvey. And if you're unable to do that, then maybe it's out the window. But if you're going to take this Buffalo team down, then you have to run the ball just so you can keep Josh Allen on the sidelines, because that's going to be half the battle here. We talked about it coming into this. The guy's been putting on the Superman cape. He's been absolutely insane in these playoff games. You want to limit those opportunities for him to be Superman as much as possible, and that starts by running the football and maintaining time of possession.
Yeah, Tyler, you hit the nail on the head there. And you mentioned last year's playoff game, and I'm sure Sean Payton has that box score circled, the time of possession where the Bills had the ball for 40 minutes. You are not going to win a game if the other team has the ball for 40 minutes. That is what happened to the Broncos last season. How do you prevent that? You run the ball well. The Broncos need to pound the rock. And if it doesn't work at first, you pound it again. And you keep doing it until it does work, because teams have proven this year, if you keep running the ball, you can run it on this Buffalo defense that gave up the 5th most rushing yards in the NFL. And it's not even the total rushing yards they gave up. This team gave up 5.1 yards per carry. You run the ball twice on average, and you are getting a first down against this Buffalo defense. There's only been one team in NFL history that has won a Super Bowl while giving up more than 5 yards a carry, because it's something that cripples your defense. So Denver needs to do whatever they can to get the rushing attack going. And let's not forget, the Broncos are 7-0 this season. When they top 125 rushing yards, that's a number they should be able to get to against this Bills defense. And as Tyler said, it allows them to control the clock, keep Josh Allen on the field. That is your recipe for success if you're the Broncos.
Yeah, I would be shocked if Denver's not able to gain at least 100 yards against this Bills defense. Now, for the second straight week, y'all, the Bills opened as a road favorite. This line was Buffalo -1.5, but has since flipped the Broncos as a short favorite ahead of kickoff. The betting public is siding with the Bills. 65% of tickets are backing Josh Allen and company. All right, so we're back here with John and Tyler, and it's time to make a prediction, John and Tyler. John, I'll start with you first. Are the Bills going to come out of this game in Mile High City with the win, or are we seeing Bo Nix competing for an AFC championship?
Chris, this feels like the Josh Allen legacy game. He cannot lose this game, because that's all anyone's going to talk about all offseason. So I am going to roll with the Buffalo Bills to go into Denver and win a tight one. One interesting thing about this game is that these have been two of the best fourth quarter teams in the NFL all season. The Broncos have outscored their opponents by 64 points in the fourth quarter this year. That is the second highest number in the NFL. The Bills have the third highest number in the NFL. So if this comes to a close game in the fourth quarter and you've got a bet on Bo Nix or Josh Allen, I'm putting all my money on Josh Allen. So I think this is where he has to prove that he can take this next step, get to the AFC title game, eventually to the Super Bowl, and the first step starts Saturday at Mile High Stadium.
I agree that Josh Allen can't lose this game from a legacy perspective, but I think he's going to. I think that the Denver Broncos take him down in this matchup for a couple of different reasons. I referenced it earlier. They just get after the quarterback so well. Tied a franchise record this season, tied for 5th most all time. But what they also do particularly well, or particularly often, is play man coverage. And Josh Allen has 10 interceptions on the season. Half of those have come against man coverage. So as much as we're talking about him being under pressure, when he actually does throw, he's in a disadvantage there as well. So I think that Denver's defense does enough. I think Bo Nix does enough on the other side to pull off this quote-unquote upset against one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL at home.
Yeah, I got Denver winning this game. I love Josh Allen. He's an amazing talent, but I think it's just too much to overcome with all the injuries, right, on both defense and offense. And the Broncos defense, yeah, they are feared for a reason. Tyler Sullivan, John Breech, always appreciate the insight, gentlemen. And remember, it goes down 4:30 Eastern Saturday on CBS and streaming on Paramount+. Josh Allen and the Bills going into Denver looking to take down Bo Nix and the Broncos. Coming up, after Seattle QB Sam Darnold hurt his oblique in practice this week, how concerned should Seahawks Nation be about his ability versus the 49ers? We're discussing that and more in just a bit.
In the nightcap on Saturday, NFC West rivals clashing for the second time in 2 weeks. The Seahawks held the 49ers to 3 points in Week 18, now meeting for a spot in the conference championship. And Seattle quarterback Sam Darnold expects to play despite an oblique injury.
Feel good. Yeah, obviously, just in routes on air, just kind of felt a little something in my oblique. Just didn't want to push it. Wasn't the day to push it, so that was it. So just came inside, got some rehab, and feel like I'll be ready to go for Saturday.
That was just today that happened?
Yeah.
You ever had anything oblique issues or anything?
No, never had oblique issues, but it's fun. We'll attack it the next couple days and be ready to go for Saturday.
So Sam Darnold being precautionary there. Back here with CBS Sports NFL writers John Breech, Tyler Sullivan. Sam Darnold expects to play through the injury, and we know Seattle leans on its number one scoring defense, nicknamed the Dark Side, allowing a league low 17 points per game. So, John, what do the Seahawks actually need from Darnold to win this game?
Well, Akeem, they don't need much. If you watched what happened in Week 18, it was almost as if Mike McDonald decided, we're not going to let Sam Darnold lose us this game, because what they did was they ran the ball 39 times. They said, we're just going to run the ball and we're going to play defense, and that's going to be good enough to beat San Francisco. And that formula worked because they won 13-3. And if you look at what Darnold has done in big games or against the 49ers, that is where he has struggled. I mean, you look at the two games against San Francisco this year. He was held under 200 passing yards both times. He threw exactly 0 touchdown passes in 2 games against the 49ers. You go back to the playoff game last year, struggled against the Rams, got sacked 9 times. That season finale against the Lions, another ugly game. So every time he's been in a big spot, he struggled. And so I think if you're the Seahawks, you're going to, and now that he's got this injury that he's dealing with, you're going to do as much as possible to kind of take the game out of his hands. He's obviously going to have to make a couple big throws. Your quarterback is touching the ball every play, so he has to do something. But I expect to see rushing attack, Seahawks to go ground heavy, the defense to play well, and that's going to be their recipe to winning this game.
Yeah, Breech, you're exactly right. I mean, that's exactly how they should operate this game. My concern is what happens if this does somehow turn into a tight game and he has to make 1 or 2 throws? What does that look like for Sam Darnold, who, as you referenced, has an iffy history in these types of situations? Yes, he kind of righted some wrongs back in Week 18, fighting for the number 1 seed, getting it, winning the division against these 49ers, doing the opposite of what he was unable to do last year with the Minnesota Vikings against the Detroit Lions. But you remember that playoff game last year. His team only had 9 points. It was not a stellar performance. I still have plenty of questions about what he is going to look like. So there's going to be a point when he has to give them a throw or two. And the fact that he's now dealing with his oblique injury, it does creep in. Whether or not the Seattle Seahawks, yes, defensively, they're extremely sound. But what happens if Sam Darnold does start to see those ghosts and gives the 49ers some advantageous field position? So the intent is raised here as much as they are favored.
Then perhaps your season hinges on Drew Lock. See what I did right there? Hinges, Lock. Dad jokes. We can appreciate that, right? I get a courtesy laugh or no? No. Okay, fine. In Week 18, the Seahawks held the 49ers to 3 points, their fewest points in a game since 2017. Seattle only missed 3 tackles in that game. They only missed 3 tackles in that game, completely shutting down Brock Purdy and the 49ers offense.
I mean, obviously we look at the last game that's most recent, 2 weeks ago, and then you still got to look at, the whole season and, how they played just in general and who they are as a defense and stuff. But obviously Kyle and the coaches do a great job with understanding, where we weren't great, where we were good, and what we can continue to be good at and build on those kind of things. But, they do a good job with that. Like Kyle's done it, year after year, where we've played teams pretty quickly, like a quick turnaround, and has made some pretty good adjustments and stuff. But at the end of the day, too, like you got to go out and execute and play a physical game, man, and execute on third down, stay on the field, and you can draw up all the plays that you want. But at the end of the day, man, it's can I be better than the guy across from me and do it longer?
Quick shout out to Brock Purdy, helped me win my fantasy championship. So thank you to Brock Purdy as he tries to win an actual championship. San Francisco is missing star left tackle Trent Williams in that Week 18 matchup. Played last week. He'll be back in the lineup. Star tight end George Kittle, though, he'll be sorely missed, suffered the torn Achilles last week. Tyler, how do the 49ers overcome the loss of Kittle, and what adjustments must San Francisco make after what happened against Seattle in that Week 18 game?
Well, you touched on it right there. The fact that they're going to have Trent Williams on the left side is massive for the running game because Christian McCaffrey was really quiet in that Week 18 game. I highly doubt that we're going to get back-to-back quiet Christian McCaffrey weeks. But to me, you talk about George Kittle being gone. Obviously, the lifeblood of that passing attack alongside Christian McCaffrey this season when they've both been healthy. But I think the return of Ricky Pearsall potentially for this game is massive. Go back to Week 1 against the Seattle Seahawks, Ricky Pearsall went over 100 yards in that game. Now, week one's a long time ago, but you have somebody who is supposedly a linchpin to your offense, former first-round pick, someone you want to be fully involved. He at least had some success going up against that defense, albeit at the beginning of the year. But throughout the season, when they've had Ricky Pearsall, the 49ers have been 8-1. They've averaged 27 points per game. So if they're going to have any sort of semblance of a continuous offense against this stout Seahawks offense or this stout Seahawks defense, they're going to need Pearsall to help move the chains.
Yeah, absolutely. Tyler, and you guys mentioned them both, Trent Williams, Ricky Pearsall. I mean, with Trent Williams, we're talking about a 3-time All-Pro left tackle. That is a huge difference they did not have in Week 18 that they will have this week. I mean, it changes the entire dynamic of what the 49ers can do on offense. Tyler mentioned that Christian McCaffrey is probably going to be able to run the ball better. The holes are going to be a little bit bigger when you're running behind Trent Williams. And if he has rooms to run, we know what Christian McCaffrey can do. He creates yardage after that. He gets downfield, and then he outruns everyone. So I expect him to have a bigger game. And then Tyler mentioned Ricky Pearsall. One reason it's big for him to be coming back, not just the 8-1 record, but if you go back to that Week 18 game against the Seahawks, the 49ers could not stretch the field when they were throwing the ball. They only had one play in the entire game that went for more than 20 yards. You go to last week's playoff game against the Eagles, they had 4 receivers who had at least one catch of 25 yards or more. So Brock Purdy's going to have more time to throw because Trent Williams is there. Ricky Pearsall helps them stretch the field. It just makes the entire offense better when both of those guys are there. So I expect the 49ers to look a lot better on Saturday night than they looked in Week 18.
San Francisco is 4-0 straight up and ATS in its last 4 road games against Seattle. Seahawks are touchdown favorites. Tyler, who's your pick to win straight up?
It's the Seattle Seahawks. It's that defense. I have a little bit of a question about Brock Purdy basically playing with a hand tied behind his back without George Kittle, who we were just talking about. He's 0-5 against top 3 scoring defenses since over the last 5 starts. They're averaging around 15 points per game. He has more interceptions than touchdowns over that stretch as well. So without your star tight end, we'll see what Ricky Pearsall looks like, but I think it's going to be a struggle for Brock Purdy.
Look, guys, I'm going to say it. The 49ers were my preseason prediction to win the Super Bowl. Kyle Shanahan has never lost in the divisional round. Brock Purdy has never lost a game in Seattle. Tyler, I know you mentioned he's 0-5 against number 1 defenses, but he's never lost in Seattle. He's got the most wins in NFL history of any quarterback in Seattle without a loss. He turns it up another notch anytime he goes there. All that being said, I hate myself because I'm picking against the 49ers. I think it's a close game, but I'm taking the Seahawks.
What a setup that was. That was great. That was great. Love it. Seattle, the current favorite to win the Super Bowl at plus 280. Perhaps they'll be playing inside the 49ers home stadium in that Super Bowl. Tyler Sullivan and John Breech here on CBS Sports HQ. Men, thanks. Enjoy the games this weekend. Look, this is Seattle at a 1 seed. They're a 1 seed for the 4th time in team history. Made the Super Bowl in each of the previous 3 times. Should have won 2 of those 3 Super Bowls, but chose to throw the ball at the 1-yard line instead of handing it off to Marshawn Lynch.